unlike a lot of people, I'm not trying to say I am successful. You may think I'm successful, but I'm saying that I'm still on the road. And there are more people that are on the road to success than are supposedly are successful.
What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of the Family Man Building a Brand podcast. Today, we have a special someone here, someone I've known for quite a while, and I've witnessed him go throughout the process from our college days to now being a top-tier operator. So I want to welcome Nnanna Okpara to the show.
Welcome, Nnanna.
What's going on, man?
Thank you guys for having me, man. It's an honor to be on the podcast. You guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you. It's an honor. I'm honored to even be considered. You know what I mean? So thank you.
That's what's up, man. So to tell you all a little bit, Nnanna is the owner, founder, and director of Festive ICT. Festive is a top-tier event production company in the Midwest, and they create joyful experiences in our local communities. I know that's pretty high level because people just hear the words. So, Nnanna, I want you to tell us a little bit more about, break that down. What exactly does Festive ICT do? And tell us a little bit more about yourself.
That was a great intro, too, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, Festive ICT is an event production company that I built here in the Midwest. And the reason why I built it was because specifically here in Kansas where we're at, there weren't a lot of creative events, just a lot of events in general that I would say, just really, really creative events and events that basically were on the next level and just things that I travel a lot. Or let me say, even before I made Creative Festive ICT, I traveled a lot. Now, my background is before I started doing Festive ICT, just to kind of join everything together. I was already doing events, but I was doing smaller events like nightclubs, stuff, live music parties, smaller level type stuff. So basically, my story really is the story of someone that just stuck with it and never gave up, right? So basically, I started out doing, even before that, when I was in college in Kent, I worked for the marketing department, the athletic marketing department, and we did events there, when I interned. So, and then from there, I got a job with the Cleveland Cavaliers for 2 years, where we also did events. Basically, my job was I would work on the team that supervised people who rented out the gym when the players were not using it. So we basically managed different types of small events that happened on the gym. At the time, I didn't realize what I was doing. I was just working, you know what I mean? And I kind of enjoyed it, but and I wanted to go to more sports marketing. So fast forward, I started like I said, doing parties and stuff like that. And I built Festive because at the time I was after doing clubs and live music stuff and just just those type of events for so long, I was okay, what's the next level? And the next level would have to be music festivals or food festivals or just larger scale events, and so that's basically how Festive ICT was born. It was time to level up. It was time for a new level. And I had the vision. I just didn't know how I was going to actually do it. I had the dreams, I had the vision, and I knew I could make it happen. And I knew the place that we were needed these events, and I just have to figure out how I was going to bring it to life. So that's how I created Festive ICT with Taco Fest, which is basically an event where we bring together local businesses who sell tacos, restaurants, caterers, food trucks, and they showcase their tacos, they sell them. We also have Lucha Libre wrestling, all kinds of really cool things. It's like a Mexican-American event, and we showcase the Mexican culture as best as we can. I have a full-fledged team of about 13 to 15 people that work on that event specifically. Then we have other events like the Sneaker Fest, which is one of my personal favorite events that we do. I've been doing that before Festive ICT was born. I just happened to kind of move that over. So that's also kind of the same thing, but not necessarily with local businesses. Just sneaker collectors, vintage collectors, streetwear dudes. They all come together and buy, sell, trade. We share this love that we have for the culture. That I've been doing that for like 12 years. And then this year we introduced like the brunch fest, which did really well. Did really well. It's kind of like the same thing. We bring together local restaurants who share brunch and showcase their businesses. And then we also have a cocktail events. That's like a margarita, a mojito events. Same thing, same concept. Bring together local restaurants to showcase. So a lot of my business is just to also help push the community forward, like you know what I mean, and showcase and also it's kind of like because I think like where we are is cool. Just because other people don't think it's cool doesn't mean that I don't think it's cool. And I look at it like when God created the earth, he didn't. When God created the earth, he didn't skip Kansas. Like he blessed the entire world. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I look at it in my head. So because of that reason, every land is blessed. You just have to tap into it. So all I did was tap into a situation where most people may not necessarily want to tap into, or the fact that I'm willing to do things that most people may not necessarily want to do. And at the time I wanted to do events in Kansas, most people were like, it'll never work. We're just not the type of city. It's not right. And all the reasons why people said it wouldn't work is the reason why it is working. And I knew that. I just had to take that step. So basically, I have other events that I do as well, like the Hoop Jam, and it's more like a basketball showcase thing that we're developing, trying to make it even bigger. But I have other events. That's what we do. I create these events from scratch, and then we're trying to basically create amazing experiences within the community. We've been able to take some events from Wichita to Kansas City, and to other markets as well. And that's also the plan is to if we can, scale it from that perspective. It's really hard because you need a team, and you need the funding, and a lot of my events are scaled from within the business. I don't have like some big investor or I'm not some big nonprofit company, like, you know what I mean, that just has the money. Everything is basically done, scaled from within. I'm taking all the risks. And I'm just lucky enough that I have a team that believes in me and that we're able to have and I'm able to have the vision to kind of like communicate that vision to them, and they believe in the vision and help me bring it to life. You know what I mean? That's basically how we've been able to pull it off. You know what I mean? So just to kind of like give you a little intro.
No doubt, man.
Good stuff. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
people get to know you, but
right.
Exactly, man. I wanted to. Well, first of all, man, that sneaker fest, man, Cecil, I may have to break open some tough sneaker boxes, man. That come out really.
Hey, man.
Cecil knows that the vault is kind of loaded, man. So we may have to pull some of these hot sneakers out, man, and represent. But I love that, man, and that takes me. I wanted to take a step back a little bit and kind of probe. I mean, first of all, man, we all know that as family men building these brands, there has to be some passion involved. And obviously you have a passion for events. You have a passion for dealing with people. You have a passion for putting smiles on people's faces. Was this something that you knew was always in you? Tell us a little bit, what was your childhood like when it came to events? Did you really see that back then, or did you happen to tap into that now later on in life?
That's a great question. So, when I was in high school, I went to high school in a country beside Nigeria called the Republic of Benin, and it was a French country. You know what I mean? And now our principal, the school I went to was an American school, and our principal was African American. She just happened to marry like a man from Togo, and then she built a school, like an American school in Togo, and one in Benin at the same time, which is where I actually fell in love with sneakers. That's actually where my love for sneakers started, was in Benin. But our principal was an events producer herself. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, like years later I put something together. But she would do stuff like, our school was a private school, so we didn't really have I think at one time we maybe had like 300 students total. So she would do things like uproot like half the school to go to like another state to do like events, like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And then she had this, and we always did events in school. And whenever we did events, she made sure that we put the events on. So she would kind of guide it, but she would make sure that we put it on, that we hosted it, we promoted it, we created the flyer, we did. I mean, in hindsight, when I think about it, we were just kids. We didn't really understand what we were doing, and it was fun to do it as long as you didn't have to be in class, working on something else. So I was creative, but that's where a lot. I think it started for me. And then she had this thing that was called. It was more like it was like a day where we celebrated all the different nationalities in the school, and it was this was like the biggest event of the year for our school, and we have food. Everybody wore their national, their traditional outfits. Everybody had their flags. We had a parade. We've had parents. I mean, we had music. I mean, it was a big show. And that was probably my first organized event that I was a part of. You know what I mean? And this was between the ninth and 12th grade. We did this once a year. And it was like the big thing everybody looked forward to in our school, along with other events. Yeah, along with other events that we helped produce as well. And it got to the point to where I would host some of these events. Like, you know what I mean? Or I would if I wasn't hosting it, I was in the background producing it. But in hindsight, like I said, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was just going along. She just believed in us, and she would let us. She would have. It was this. Mind you, these were all her ideas. You know what I mean? So none of us came up. These were all her ideas. She just basically believed in us, and I think she knew the importance of building a team. But but if you think about it, her team was full of kids, but we all executed at a very high level. You know what I mean? At a very high level. So, and that was because we had the experience where once she saw something in you, you were either in her choir or you were on her production team or something. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have a choice. You couldn't say no. And so that's where I think, because no one has ever really asked me that question, but I've been thinking about it myself. So it's actually amazing that you asked me that question. But recently I've been thinking, I was like, man, you know what? Did I always want to be an event producer? Or did it just kind of happen? But when I actually thought deeper, of recent, I was like, man, you know what? This was kind of like not necessarily destined, but there were seeds that were planted a very long time ago, to where that allowed me to kind of fall into where I am, and then just that's just basically. So to answer your question, that was, I would say, my very, very first organized event, and that happened between the 9th grade and the 12th grade, so for 4 years straight.
Yeah,
wow. I mean, that's interesting because, like you said, it's like the idea, like when people ask you, "Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?" I mean, because being an entrepreneur is a very broad statement. It's not like
Right.
say, "Did you always want to be a doctor?" You say yes. Did you want to be a lawyer? I mean, what kind of lawyer you want to be? Most kids don't really know. Some might know that type of stuff, but that's very interesting that you can kind of dig back to saying, hey, at this point in time in my life, at a younger age, I did these things. And now in hindsight, when I look back, it makes sense that I'm doing what I'm doing now because you've been prepared for quite some time without even knowing, unbeknownst to you.
Yes.
That you were doing that. So with that said, and it's interesting. I mean, that kind of gives us perspective into childhood and as you move into where we live. So, I mean, one of the things that, like, say you grew up in Benin, in Nigeria, you did come to America. So like most of us, like myself, we're immigrant kids. I mean,
Absolutely.
like Ralph was born to an immigrant, and you did come to the United States. And I mean, you've built a life. Like I said, I've known you from college, then going on to that, you settled in Kansas, and you built a beautiful family, and kind of want to touch on that and dig a little bit into that, because I think that plays a big role into everything that we do. Like, I know you're married, and you have kids, and I kind of want you to let the audience know, how did that happen? How did you meet your spouse? And I mean, we'll dig deeper into that a little bit more.
Man, so what's crazy is that I met the last Thanksgiving we spent together. I met me and you, Cecil, and the whole family. I met my wife right before that. I think no, actually, I think that yeah, I met her like right before that, and well, actually, no, I think I'm like, I'm sorry, I met her right after that, and the reason why it was right after that, and the reason why it's important was because I was a very low period of my life, you know what I mean? And I, so I was trying to navigate and figure things out. And yes, like you said, I am an immigrant, came to America, like other immigrants to kind of for a better, let me not say better, a better life. There you go, better life. You know what I mean? And I think I always say immigrants, the reason why we come to America and are able to do what we do is because our perspective on America is completely different. We actually look at America, I think, how America was built for, like what it was built for, as opposed to what it could be. You know what I mean? And I think that's just because our perspective is so different, and that allows us to be very, very, very laser focused on what it is that we're trying to achieve. Now, granted, there's so many. America is so complicated that once you come to America and you assimilate with the society, you take on the characteristics of the society and the issues and the problems of the society. You become one of the society, and sometimes you can get lost in that. More than likely, I think if you have a good upbringing, you can still kind of, figure out who you are and keep to that. You know what I mean? But yes, so anyways, yeah, so definitely came to America as an Indian. But I met my wife, like I said, right after that. I had a very, very low period of my life. And we met and we instantly clicked. And it was almost like I almost feel like I was looking for her and she was looking for me. You know what I mean? And we just instantly clicked. And we've been together for 12 years. We married for 9. You know what I mean? There's not, I know we have 2 kids, 3 and 2. We'll be 4 and 3 this year. They're Irish twins. They're I'll say about 11 months apart. It wasn't planned, but it just happened like that.
It would not work, man.
Back to back like Mike in '96,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, but it just kind of happened like that, and we're thankful. I dropped 2 girls, and it's obviously tough. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. By the way, you know what I mean? I always knew that.
Okay.
I always knew that. I used to tell my friends in college. I mean, see, I feel like we've had
these conversations.
I mean, we've had conversations till 2 a.m. about just dreams and ideas of what we would like to do and what we think is possible, and and just what other people that we look up to are doing. What I mean? Have done. I think So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always just had to, it just took me a while, I think, to accept what it fully means to be an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like understanding the risks and accepting that is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I always tell people like, in like, if you're born in like a third world country, sometimes you're forced to be an entrepreneur. So you see a street hawker, right? They would like to get a job, but the society society isn't stable enough to support that job that they may want. Not even to say the job that they may deserve, right? Just the job that they may want. So because of that, they have to turn into street hockey, basically. And which means every day you don't know how they're going to eat. You got to wake up and figure it out. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? And I think you get to a certain point where you just understand, look, you know what, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be able to sleep. So the risk is worth my peace of mind, anything. You know what I mean? Because entrepreneurship, to me, it's not about money, it's about freedom. Because only a madman would work 80 hours a week for minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, only a mad person would do that. But the reason why we do that is because we want the freedom to work whenever we want, for as long as we want, as short as we want, you know what I mean? And the freedom to be able to dream, and I think the most important thing is we want the freedom to be able to fail and learn. And I think a lot of people don't really say that out loud, but that's what we want to do. We yearn, entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, we yearn learning. We want to learn. So that's why we seek out failure. Or to us, failure is like a rite of passage almost. It's almost like, oh yes, I know I want, I ask you all the time, I'm like, what have you failed at? If you haven't really failed at anything, you haven't even started. Like you haven't even tried. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta be willing to fail. And then fail forward fast. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, exactly, man. You hear that all the time, man. Obviously, being in this game for so long, being a family man, building brands, doing this for so long, you realize the opportunity and the blessing you have to even fail. Because first of all, we failed so many times that after each failure, Nnanna, is a takeoff. So now if I see a failure on the way, oh man, what's the next move on the way? Because I know I'm going to learn from this. I've already memorized this. I'll learn from it. I'll stomach it, and I'm ready for the next phase.
I mean, but we fail with optimism.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Yes,
exactly, man.
Yes.
But Nnanna,
I saw. So good.
Well, I wanted to continue to tap in on family because you mentioned that when you met your wife, you are at the lowest point in your life. You are at a low point of your life. I'm not going to say your lowest point. You are at a low point in your life.
Right.
You were looking for her. She was looking for you. You guys, built the family, 2 beautiful children. What does family mean to you now versus then in the beginning? And also this family I consider to be a network. How do they play a role in what you do now? You're motivated, you're pumped up, you're expanding, you're doing all types of different fests and things of that sort. How does this family fuel you to do what you do? And how do they play a role in your everyday life as building this brand?
That's a great question, and I'm going to try and answer it.
No doubt, man.
That's a really great question. So I think the first thing is that family is, as Africans, that is like the roots. That's the core of who we are. You know what I'm saying? Well, my parents didn't raise me. My family raised me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and continue to raise and support me today, and that's just the landscape of how we were raised, luckily, if you're lucky enough to find someone that's compatible with you, and that kind of understands you, because I think marriage is a long process, so I think with me, it starts with that. It starts with how I was raised and how important it was to have family. And then building my own family, I think gives me, for me personally, it's more of giving me security, but also it's like, I never envisioned my family. I envision everything I can, but I never envisioned my family because I felt like, because also I try not to worry about things I can't control. I try not to. Even when I pray, I try to say 2 prayers. Thank you, God. And then like, I pray about things I can't control. Like I never ask God like, oh, I want a new belly, or I need like a mansion. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, God knows how many hairs are on your head, that He knows that my rent is due next month. I need to check. You know what I'm saying? So I also have the ability to make that situation right if I want to. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that's I never really envisioned my family, and I always kind of left that to God. And I was like, hey God, if I'm lucky enough to find someone, if I'm lucky enough to have children, then thank you. You know what I'm saying? I'll grateful, and I'll do the best I can. And I'm very hard on myself as an individual. So of course I'm hard on myself as a dad. And of course I have certain attributes that my parents have that I'm also like, man, you know what? Maybe that's not the right way to go about it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's a constant battle, because you're trying to figure out how to be a good dad, how to be the best dad, how to be the right dad. And none of those things really, I think, um, are that important. I think the most important thing is just being there. You know what I mean, for your kids at all times, in any situation. You know, whether it's from whether it's from you have to change a diaper to having a conversation, or when they're crying, or being there at 2 a.m. in the morning. The most important thing is being there. And it sounds so simple, right? It's like just being there, but it's the hardest thing to do because as an entrepreneur, you want to work, you're having so many work, so it's hard to be there all the time. And it's hard to be there and be there, you know, because you could be with your kid on your side on your phone, handling a whole business conversation, you know what I mean? And so so instead of focusing on all those things, I try to focus on just, you know, what can I control, meaning that don't be too hard on yourself, you know, and just focus on being there all the time. And then when I'm there, trying to be the best I can be. And then just knowing that like, you know, being a dad is like life. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. But if every time you make a mistake, you have to be willing to recognize the mistake, see if you can correct it, and then move on to the next thing. It's like basketball. It's like, you know what I mean? If you miss a shot, you can't worry about that missed shot. You know what I mean? You just gotta adjust, adjust and keep going, you know? And I think there is no answer, there is no real answer to being a parent. I think everybody's style is different. And the bigger thing is you have to be open to learn. And what I'm learning is that kids are way smarter than you are. And I'll just end with, I believe that children come through you, not for you. You know what I mean? Like we are basically just caretakers to showcase somebody. We're basically ushering somebody else into this world, but eventually they have to figure out their own life. You know what I mean? Just like with our parents. You know what I mean? Like, and the more you understand that, the less I think you'll be hard on yourself, and the more you'll be willing to kind of like allow your kids to take some risks that they need to take to develop them. Like for example, like if my daughter falls, depending on how hard the fall is, I may help her up. But sometimes I'll be like, no, like get up. She wants to get up herself. Like she wants to get up herself. Sometimes she'll be like, you know what I mean? Sometimes she'll be like, sometimes she just wants you to come over and just kind of like be like, you okay? And then she gets up herself and she's like, yo, yeah, there's a kind of way, but I try to notice things before I act sometimes and be like, you know what? Okay, maybe. And sometimes my kids think that they're 11 and 12. They're like, they want to put on their own seatbelts. They want to make their own breakfast. I mean, and they're 3 and 2. So yeah, you know what I mean? So, and I think I'm driven, but my daughter, my firstborn, is 3 times more driven than I am at 3 years old. I'm even thinking about, I was telling my wife, I was like, you know, we don't even need to put her in school. She's gonna be something in the world. Like she's so perfect, she's gonna figure it out. Like, you know, like we're just gonna keep her at the house, like no school. But I mean, that's a joke. But I'm just saying that's how driven she is. So I'm just saying, like, it's very important to be attentive, and just, you know what I mean, and just understand that it's an everyday process. You know what I mean? There's no method to it. I think just being there is the most important thing, and that's what I try to do. So I hope I was able to answer your question somewhat.
No, I mean, of course, I think that gives so much insight into just, I mean, family, because I think social media or the world we live in today curates what people are supposed to see of what family is. At the end of the day, right. I think you gave us a lot of insight into your kids, but how you raise them, because it's your way, and right. how they inspire you. And you mentioned that, I mean, we just basically usher them into the world. And I think right. for me, I was just telling Kiki that today. I said, my dad always used to say, my responsibility to you guys, I mean, well, for him, not for everyone, right. but he brought us into this world and his job was to take care of us. And he'll get to a certain point, he would provide for us education and right. that type of stuff. And then when we become adults, he falls back. He's like, I've right. given you what I want to give you as a parent. Right. Now it's time for you to go figure the rest out. And if right. you choose to pay it back, then maybe right. I've raised you in a certain way, not necessarily right or wrong, but right. I've given you the tools you need to continue your life and hope you take that information and pass it on to your kids, because it's a continuation. That's what that's the generational, I'm not going to say wealth, but maybe wealth
Right.
of knowledge that parents pass down to their kids, and then we pass it down to our kids. So I mean, I think that's important. But one thing I wanted to ask was, and we talk a lot about family, and I know, if I'm not mistaken, Jen herself, your wife, is an entrepreneur.
Well, she just became an entrepreneur. She finally cut the bugs.
well, there you go. And Ralph and I were saying is that when you have certain families, you don't necessarily have two parents taking that risk. One, I mean, and this is just the American way of life. Sometimes one person says, "Hey, you're gonna have to do this while you take the risk, and I'll support you." So now that you have you and your wife being both entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you guys have figured this out, how does that challenge family, like the familiar responsibilities, but also the journey, the business and entrepreneurial journey? How does that dynamic work?
Man, you guys are killing me with the questions today. Okay. So before I jump into that, I wanted to say, you said something about generational wealth, and it made me think that generational wealth is actually having nothing to do with finances. It actually
you're right.
What you're talking about. I didn't realize that you said that, and I'm like, so that's very important. I think that
that was a key right there.
Basically, that was a key right there. You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
I just learned that, by the way. I just learned that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it has nothing to do with money. It's so much more than that. You know? So I appreciate you throwing that out there. That definitely was huge. But so with Jen, Jen's a hairstylist, and she works for L'Oreal Professional as well as a head instructor. So she owns her own studio. She has a partner in that, and then she's also a instructor for L'Oreal. Which this year she's blown up like crazy with L'Oreal, to where she's getting calls from all over the country: San Francisco, California, Chicago, New York, flying out, and they actually have to request you, to come out and do these things. So she's blown up. The salon thing, she's wanted to open up a salon for a while. It was always kind of in her. She just didn't really know how to do it. I think she's got a point where she was at a tipping point. It was sometimes you wait long enough to where you push yourself over. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has to push you. Nobody has to tell you anything. You're ready. You've been ready. You're just like, finally at the point where I've had it. I'm taking that risk, and I think by watching, Jen helped me build Festive ICT from day one. Made sacrifices with me, made sacrifices for the company, made sacrifices for our relationship. We both made so many sacrifices for the life that we built and we're trying to build still. And so she helped me build the company. So I think with that, she saw that, wow, you know what? If you put your mind to something and you're good at it, like, it can be real, and I think so. I think that was in the back of her mind. And then obviously she had 13 to 15 years of experience in the hair industry. She was one of the top stylists for years at a salon. So, like I said, it was just time, So now it's more of teamwork. Like this year, for example, I do basically like 2-3 events a month, between March and like November, So, so Jen has traveled more than ever this year. I actually feel like we just saw each other for the first time. We just see each other like last week, Like, because I feel like sometimes she'd be gone for 5 days, and I'll be here, myself with the kids, while I'm working and trying to balance life. Or, I'll be knee deep, like, with Taco Fest 3 days in a row, and she has to handle the kids. So it's more about having an understanding, being a team. We're a really good team. Like we're a really good team, and that's a blessing, because it could be a situation to where we're divorced and she has her own family, I have my own family, and the kids have to figure things out. I mean, I come from a situation like that, so I know that's not necessarily, it's not impossible, but it's not the best situation. You know what I mean? So I think the fact that we're a good team, that that helps the situation. I think the fact that we've been through a lot together, and we've been together for 12 years, and people say we did it the right way. I don't really know what the right way is. It means that we dated first, and then got married, and then had kids. But it wasn't really like we planned it like that. It just happened like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I was like, oh no, well, you know what I mean? It just kind of happened like that. And so we've been through a lot together. There's a lot of trust there. There's a lot of understanding of each other, and I think understanding of each other's dreams and understanding of sacrifices. And then I think most of the thing is willingness to make those sacrifices. A lot of people, and then we don't. And I think in relationship, it's like I had to realize that there's no such thing as equal. You know what I'm saying? Like some days it's like a band, but you know how to play all the instruments. You know what I mean? Because some days, you know what? I got to play guitar and drums. You know what I mean? And some days she has to do lead singer, and you know what I'm saying? And I play like tambourine. You know what I mean? And then some days I got to play keys. It's like there's no. And then sometimes you'll stop playing keys for 2 weeks because that's just what is required. You know what I mean? And so I think you have to understand that there's no equality. It's you do what needs to be done. And while you're doing what needs to be done, you kind of sometimes figure out your roles. One of the things that I think about being in a marriage is sometimes you're like roommates, sometimes you're like lovers, sometimes you're like best friends, sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it depends on what situation, you know what I'm saying? It depends on what situation it calls for. But it's more about just caring for one another, and then the willingness to just help each other, and the willing. I mean, I think a lot of times most people are just not willing. And people in marriages, it's easy. Most marriages, I think, end based on pride. It's just somebody, and I always say the only reason why a marriage doesn't want to work is because one person has decided they're done. They don't want to keep working on it. As long as you're willing to work on it, and the key word there is willing. As long as you're willing to work on it, or you're willing to help the other person, or you're willing to go the extra mile, it'll always work out. Yeah, you can always think about. It's so easy to be like, I do all these things for you, but they do a lot of your partner does a lot for you too. It's give and take, and you don't. And the marriage, is like it's like a brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? You don't count favorites. I'm there for you if you need me. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm there for you. I'm there for you if you need me. Like that's what I signed up for.
I was about to say, I wish I had one of those ones. Like,
yeah, hey, for real, Cecil. Hey, real gems, man. Real gems, man, and especially from the perspective that sacrifices just got to be made. And again, Nnanna, This is what we aim to push on this podcast. The reality is that the family man in this day and age is not, the typical man is not the one going out there and hunting and coming home to the family home, and that one income is good enough and she can stay home and take care of the kids and things of that sort. Cecil and I personally have had to reverse those roles as entrepreneurs. I'm the one with the freedom. Right. I'm the one with the freedom to take the kids to school. Right. I'm the one with the freedom to set my schedule and things of that sort. So now for both of you guys to be in this field and you guys are finding a way to navigate through that, that's a key gem. And everyone listening into this, you guys got to take heed, because this is really how it goes.
I'm just the mom. Like we had a birthday party for Kenzo yesterday, and all the moms, all the kids who came with their parents, mom and dad, and all the moms know me because I'm the one. And they say to me, I see you every morning and every afternoon because I'm the one who has the flexibility to drop off Kenzo at the time. I mean, his mom got to be at work at, let's say, 6, so Kenzo doesn't start till 8. Then I got to be the one. He gets off at 3, so she doesn't get off work till 7. So I have to be the one to be flexible enough to do that. So Kim's like, I see you every day. And I'm just like, yes. Right. Pretty interesting how the dynamics and everything's changing. But yeah, Ralph.
Exactly, man. And, with that dynamic, especially with Nnanna's dynamic, it's kind of different from, honestly, a lot of the guests that we've interviewed and even ourselves.
Yeah.
With this dynamic, Nnanna, what do you think, or what would you say is your number one characteristic to success within your business now? You have a lot to balance. You have a lot on your plate. You're really scaling things. You plan to scale. and you've already expanded across multiple different types of events, what is that characteristic that for a fact you hold and is honestly leading to more success within your lane, given everything you have going on?
I think I'm just willing to go the extra mile. The ethos of my business is we go the extra mile because it's never crowded. You know what I'm saying? That's the ethos. So I only hire people, I only work with people and hire people that go the extra mile in their life. So that way I don't have to ask them to go the extra mile. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna go hard because that's just what they do. It's not like I don't have to ask them to go hard. I don't have to even motivate them to go hard. I may give a speech. I may set the vision up, but if and the reason I said that is because I said, I think success is just being willing to do what everybody else is not willing to do. It really has nothing to do with being smarter or being more talented. Half the time, I think if you just wait it out, you'll be successful. If you just don't give up or just wait it out, because everybody else is going to give up. Everybody else is going to give up. Life is too hard. Everyone's going to give up on their dream. It is easy. As an entrepreneur, sometimes it's so insulting when people think like we're making all this money. Because I'm like, you know what? If I really wanted to make money, I'd go get a job, bro. A good job. If I really wanted to make that kind of money that y'all be talking about, or y'all think I'm making, I'd go get a job. And I will be always out of control. You know what I'm saying? Because I know people that are making way more money than me, but they don't have the freedom I have.
And more than they don't have the freedom. And I mean, it's not to say, because I always say it's not judgment where you say they're miserable. It's just at the end of the day, I think we're fighting for freedom. Now, you can add words to freedom: financial freedom, family freedom, mental freedom. Like there's all kinds of things you can add to that freedom to kind of expand on it. But in the general sense of it, yes, I think when we get to control what we do is what makes sense. And being able to do that then allows us to build the kind of family we want, the family you want.
Absolutely. And I think getting a job doesn't necessarily mean it's not, I think everyone loves, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. We need doctors, and everybody can't own their own practice. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
We need dentists. Everybody can't own their own practice. So their jobs are also a necessity. But in comparison to, I think, like we said, an entrepreneur, I think the misconception, it's like real estate. People think real estate, in my opinion, is like, it's so easy. You know how it's so it's glamorized. Get into real estate, you gonna make all this money. I'm like, well, most realtors I know are broke. Most realtors I know are broke. And the amount of hours that they put in, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So you have to basically become a master of what you do. And you have to be willing to I'm gonna put this out there, but don't hold me to this, right? I'm working on a book. I don't even know if it's a book yet, but it's called 7 Gems on the Road to Success. And it's in relation to kind of like this, like this question. And the reason why it's called 7 Gems on the Road to Success is because that's all I got right now, 7. You know what I'm saying? I got more, but that's for book 2. That's for book number 2. But the reason why it's 7 gems on the road to success is because I'm not, unlike a lot of people, I'm not trying to say I am successful. You may think I'm successful, but I'm saying that I'm still on the road. And there are more people that are on the road to success than supposedly are successful. So those people need to know. In my opinion, this is exactly what this podcast is basically showcasing other people. Like, yo, you're not alone, right? You're not alone at all. Yes. Like, you're a family man, you're an entrepreneur, bro. There's a club of us. You know what I mean?
There's
like, and I think it's a community of us. And so it's. I just think that people want. Also, people don't. I would rather give people what I consider to be the things that I feel like have worked for me than give them ideas of what could work for them or what I think could work for them. It's more like, hey, this is what I did. You can tap into it because it may work for you. And it's basic stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like going the extra, like one of the gems is, going the extra mile, being willing to do what nobody else is willing to do. It just comes to me, just comes down to that. You're not going to be able to outsmart everybody. Sometimes, you're not born with the athleticism of like a LeBron James. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, what makes LeBron James great is that not only was he born with the athleticism, he is willing to do things that other people are also doing, even with that gift. So of course you will never catch him. It's impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's in any given Sunday. Remember when Al Pacino tells what's his name? He said life is a game of inches. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of, to me, that's what it is. Like, sometimes you only have a little window. Like, you only have a small window to make an impact. And it comes down to what is your perspective about life. And if you don't have the right perspective, you miss out on opportunities, and you chase opportunities that are not meant for you. But when you have the right perspective, where you're comfortable with the life that you're living, you go after the things that are meant for you, and you will gladly turn away things that are not for you. You know what I'm saying? Because
definitely.
Real quick, I'll even say this because even with this podcast, we built this framework, and it's a framework which, I think we talked about this and I felt like everything you've said, you answered everything we probably even wanted you to tap into before we even said, hey, can you tap into this? So, because and I'll say this to kind of like let the audience understand. The framework is, there's mindset, which, we've talked a lot about different things about mindset. There's the foundation to building a business. There's a foundation to family. Then there's launching. And I know you mentioned that earlier where you said, hey, I built this business kind of by myself. I don't have this trust fund. I don't have this group of investors that I can go tap into to get money. I'm basically reinvesting back from the money I make, but also you said one thing that's very important. You're building community. That's your network. So I think I'm highlighting these things because I want people to understand that this is how it relates to these different parts of the framework. You've built community, and you and the community are making sacrifices. And when it comes to growth, you said you had a team of about 13 people, 15 people, and you did say you hire people who in their daily lives as they operate, they want to take the extra mile. So if you're doing it, then if they do it in their lives, they will do it for whatever they consider work. So I'm just trying to put all these things into perspective without even having to ask the question, because I think you've answered all these questions in a certain way where it's like, yo, this is how these answers fitting these things. So that's just one of the things I wanted to say. But Ralph,
talking about framework, Nnanna really broke down perspective, and as we know, you gain a certain perspective and look at life a certain way because you've gained a certain type of mentality. Okay, thinking negative, having negative thoughts poured into your mind all day, every day, it's going to have you look at life in a negative perspective. So now, Nnanna, you've mastered a mindset, and what you're doing in Kansas is I would say unheard of, because for one, compared to the rest of the U.S., you're going to consider that to be, exactly. So what mindset was needed? What mindset did you have to force to have to be able to try to achieve such a feat in such a state, in such a city, things of that sort? You had to have a certain mindset to get there. What was that mindset looking like? Because it's very risky. Yeah, to conquer it is very scary, very risky. You're in Kansas and you want to achieve dreams that happen in La La Land, that happen in New York, that happen in Atlanta. What mindset was needed?
Allowing myself to dream and dream big. Like I've always told myself, like, you need to, you have to allow yourself. So let me double down on that. You have to have an imagination. A lot of people don't have an imagination. And it's hard to have an imagination when I think one of the key things you said, Rock, was when you're allowing yourself to take in all this negativity. I've come across so many American citizens that don't believe in themselves, and it blows my mind. the world is literally your oyster as an American citizen. If you only knew, you know what I mean? Like literally, and it blows my mind. So that in itself is one perspective, meaning that the greatness of this country affords you so many things. But I think it's just having the right perspective. You know what I mean? And then having in my opinion, I have a vast imagination. The ideas that I put out, the events that I have like 100 ideas, event ideas that I haven't even like, I don't have the money to even put them on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or I just don't have the time. Like, I have so many ideas, and just even bigger than events, I'm taking things from, to the next level. I think, so it's really just having that imagination, and then not allowing yourself to everything. Once you realize, Steve Jobs said something one time, and there's only like a few interviews of Steve Jobs that I watch because like they're very powerful. And there was one that he did, I don't remember what year it was, but there was one that he did, and he said that once you realize that everything around you was built by somebody that is not smarter than you, not better than you, doesn't know more than you, then it occurs to you, wow, I can build things too. I can make things too. And then I think you have to allow yourself, your imagination, to kind of go, okay, like, what can I build? It's like, and he said, it's almost like, if you push on this end, you realize that something will come out on the other end. So having so I think having the confidence, having the imagination, and then having the confidence and the willingness to fail forward fast. I embrace. It took me a while, but now I don't look at failure no more. I look at, do I even have time to fail? So I don't even attempt a project if I don't have the time to fail, because failure is like a prerequisite for me. Like, I expect it. So if there isn't space for that, then I turn the project down, because there has to be a learning curve. And the learning curve means that we're going to fail until we learn. And once we learn, we'll figure it out. That may take 5 years. That may take 3 years. I don't know. So failure is almost like, and I got that from Elon Musk. Elon Musk said he seeks out failure. If there is no failure in sight, there's something wrong. Like, there's something wrong. And I'm like, when I first heard that, it was scary to me. I was like, bro, how could anyone seek out failure? Like, who seeks out failure? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, you want to win. And like, I realized, no, he seeks out failure because he wants to learn. You know what I mean? And the only way you're going to learn is if you fail. You know what I mean? Somebody can teach you, somebody can tell you, but my mom used to always say, your experience is always going to be the best teacher. So I think those are some of the things that that have allowed me, just like I said, the imagination, and then having the confidence, like, to fail, and to just know that that it's also, there's a culture here, especially in Kansas. I don't know if it's the same thing where you guys are, but there's a culture here to where if you try something and you fail, you get banished. Or you try something and you fail, and it's like you're a failure. You know what I mean? And most people, they don't come back from that. I came back from that and doubled up. You know what I'm saying? Because my first Taco Fest was massive. It was massive, and we didn't expect the crowd that we had, and it was like, let me not say we weren't ready for it. It wasn't like we weren't ready for it. We just didn't expect the crowd that we had. And it felt like the entire city was mad at me. You know what I mean? But eventually what ended up happening was that, to me, I took it more as a sign. You know what I mean? And the sign, in my opinion, basically said, hey, this is something that people want. What we're going to have to do is just double down and make it better. Most other people would have been like, see, this is why I never do things. Most other people would have been like, this is why I never do anything. This is why, because you guys don't want to support me, blah, 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 blah. I was more like, oh, you guys actually like this? You love it? Cool. I apologize that it didn't go as well as it was supposed to. I didn't know that you guys even cared. Now that I know that you care, I will make the necessary sacrifices and things that need to be done to make sure that it works. There has to be a test phase. There has to be a test phase. And most people don't understand. Unless you're an entrepreneur, you don't understand that there has to be a test phase. You think that it's just going to be like, I'm gonna start the key and it's going to work out. And so it's just and I also have a different perspective when it comes to like support and fans. People use the word support like it's supposed to be like support. To me, support can mean different things. Support can mean, Raph, if you start a business tomorrow, like with Royal Dynamites, for example, right? Say when you started Royal Dynamites, I was like, Raph, I'm gonna show up to the grand opening. I'm gonna buy a hat. Okay. So I cop a hat. I supported you. If I never buy another product, I supported you because I bought one hat. But if I came every time you put out a new hat, if I bought one, that means I rock with the products. It has nothing to do with you. I love the product. Even if you weren't the owner, I would be buying the products. You know what I mean? So as an entrepreneur, what I want is support, yes, but I also want fans. I want people that love my products. I want to build a community with my products of like-minded people. I don't want supporters. So let me say, I'll take supporters, but what I want is fans, loyal fans, people that identify with me on this product that I'm putting out, or this service that I'm putting out, or this event that I'm putting out. We're all like-minded. We like the same things. We feel the same way. So we come together. And to me, that is basically, that's a perspective that I have when it comes to, I think, support and having fans. So it's you have to have the imagination, you have to have the confidence, you have to be willing to fail. And I say, fail forward fast. The faster you can fail, the quicker you can implement, the mistake that you've made, and the further you'll be able to go.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Great gems there. Keeping it strictly biz, Nnanna. You've built your events company. What has been more instrumental to you, your network or your resources?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say that's a good one. I'd say both. What, Kenza, I have a large net. I always tell people like, so I'll say both because my network, I've built my network based on relationships and proving myself. And because of my network, I have resources. You know what I'm saying? My network provides resources for me. And I tell people, so for example, my team doesn't work with me at every event. All 13 members. So for certain events, say for Brunch Fest, I may pull 5 people from my network to be my team for Brunch Fest. For Taco Fest, I'll pull 13 people from my network to be on my team for Taco Fest. For the Sneaker Fest, I may only need to pull 3 people from that. You know what I mean? For sponsors, I may need to pull 20 sponsors for Taco Fest to be able to be a part of that. For Sneaker Fest, I may only need to pull 5 to be a part of that. You know what I mean? So it is my network that has provided these resources to me. And to be honest with you, is that I undervalue my network from a perspective of I'm always thinking big, but my network is actually, when I actually sit back and think about it, it's actually really good because of it's because of my network that I've been able to accomplish what I've been able to accomplish. So really, and that's why I think when Cecil said what he said earlier about generational wealth, it was very important. It hit me because my network, the people that I work with, the people that that have helped me, that provide me with resources, that make their resources available to me. These are people that believe in me just as much as I believe in them. And it's a marriage, and we just try to figure out everything. So I think it's a mix of both. And I think one comes from resources come from your network, and you want, and to kind of double down on the team thing, most people are nervous to go into entrepreneurship because they feel like, I got to build a team. And I'm like, well, what about your network? look in your network and see who you could pull in for a project. Everybody doesn't work on every project. They're not supposed to. If I, it's like, Ralph, if I know you have a skill and I'm doing an event, I'm gonna be like, yo, Ralph, can you help me with this one? I'm not gonna hit you up for all the events because you may not first of all, you may not have the time, number one, and I may not be able to afford what it costs to have you sit down and work on 10 events. You know what I mean? But I know that you have a specific skill set for this specific thing. So I reach out to you, hey, well, I need your help for this one event in March on the 20th. I need this, and this. And you're like, yo, I got you. So much cost. Cool. I got you. And I do that, and so now that's a business relationship that we have, and we can continue to work with that and figure that out and make that better and better and develop that every year. And maybe now it goes from doing one event together to 2 events. You know what I mean? To 3 events. And maybe the more successful I am, the more I'm like, you know what, Ralph, I'm willing to offer. You're so good at what you do, and I need you on my team day to day. I'm willing to offer you this so that you can come on board. But that takes time. That takes, you know what I mean? You have to get to that point to be able to do that,
Right. And I know that your expansion, and I know that your route toward really scaling this thing, really matters, and funding plays a role. If you had all the funding now, Nnanna, you'll probably be as big as AEG and all that stuff now. Not getting too personal, no need to say any raw numbers, things that sort. But what does that process look like? Because I can tell you from my perspective, man, it's always, we make the investment, we derive a profit, we take that profit, put it right back until we can get it to a place where we scaled enough to where it start eating. What does that process look like for you? How is funding? I know funding is an important piece. How does this allow you? What does your process look like to slowly, incrementally grow this thing as big as possible?
So that's a great question. Funding is a integral part of it, and we've been fortunate enough to get some sponsors. But because we're an event production company that's a for-profit company as opposed to a non-profit company, we've had challenges with sponsors, for example, and it's because most sponsors will give money to a non-profit company because it's a tax write-off for them. You know what I mean? They may not even believe in the cause of the events, but it's a tax write-off, and they want to show some sort of community support, which is actually a good thing. I have nothing against it. I think that's great. But for myself, who's a for-profit company, for a company to sponsor me, it comes out of their marketing budgets. You know what I mean? Because they can't write that off. That's an expense. You know what I mean? So it has to basically make sense. The event has to match what they're doing, or you have to have those relationships with them to be able to do that. So sponsorship is one of the ways that we fund the events. For the most, and in the past, on certain levels, I've had investors, or should I say, an investor, but this is like minimal. This is like minimal investment. This is like, just nothing major. Just a lot of it, some of it has also been trial and error. For the most part, everything is I reinvest into the business. If we make money, I reinvest into the business because my vision is so big, I haven't even come close to it. So I can't, we have to basically constantly just keep reinvesting into the business. And it's funny you say AEG because, yeah, those are the guys I look at, AEG and Live Nation. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the guys I look at. AEG came to me right now. I'm like, yo, I did your ads for company. Let's go. Because you look at it. I don't know if you guys know, but you look at company. You look at like a festival, like a Coachella, for example. AEG owns half of Coachella. Yeah, right. The other company, yeah. So the other company that owns Coachella is this event production company that's called Golden Voice. Golden Voice is run by Paul Toles. Paul Toles is just a guy like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but had a massive vision. Paul Toles lost $1 million the first year he did Coachella. Had to sell his house, got divorced from his wife, lost $1 million. Basically, AEG basically saved them. Saved Coachella, basically. But think about that. If he didn't take that massive risk and put it on a massive platform, to where somebody else was like, "Oh, that was amazing. I want to be a part of that." And you don't got to worry about the money. We'll take the risk. I don't need you to be a part of it. Those are the kind of opportunities that I wish that I wish that I know will come to us. Now I can't even say I will. Well, I can't even say I will take this opportunity if they come, because I believe in myself. I believe in myself so much that I'll go up against the Goliaths, and you know what I'm saying. But if the best opportunities I do have a lot of partnerships already in different aspects, in different things. So I already work from a partnership perspective. But a lot of times, one of the things I've found is that, you know what I mean, is like, it's important to make sure that you're on the same page with your partnership, especially if anything else from a visionary perspective. You know what I mean? We may have differences and we'll differ in certain things, but if the vision is the same, we can work it out. And so as we grow, the goal is to get the company to be able to do enough events to where it is a national or my opinion, an international shooter, maybe even an intergalactic brand, right? When we're doing stuff on Mars, you know what I mean? Yeah. To where, you know, I'm doing festivals on Mars, you know what I mean? But that's how I think. To where it's and it's not necessarily the size of the brand, because you can do huge things with a small operation. That's what people don't understand. You know what I mean? You can do massive things with a small operation, and it's just really plugging yourself in the right situation. And from an event perspective, there's so many things you can get into. I'll give you an example. So I don't know if anybody knows, but Jerry Jones owns a catering company that services damn near half the NFL. Do you guys know this?
Oh no, but I can see it happening.
The Cowboys. But I'm just, you know what I'm saying? But he already owns an entertainment company, and then you just figure out another way within the same business to pivot, as opposed to leaving and going to start like some, I don't know, company that makes blankets or something. You know, because you can. So even with me within my company,
or even outsourcing.
Yeah, exactly. So even with me, I'm on that level too, to where I'm trying to figure out other income streams and other partnerships that within the industry that are viable, you know what I mean, and then kind of see how we can help use that to even fund the business even more and get some big ideas, because we have some big music festivals that we want to do as well. We have larger food market type events that we want to do as well. Even my shop and grub market, which is like a monthly market, I want to do it in like Paris and like London and like Ghana and Kenya, you know what I'm saying, and like Japan, because it's just that type of event where it doesn't need a crazy amount of like work on it. It's a market, but because of the vibe and because of the it's shopping and food, he doesn't. I mean, it just goes hand in hand. You know what I mean? Because of that, it's easier to scale and easier to operate, as opposed to like a taco. I've done a taco fest in another city. I know what it takes. I've done them in 2 other cities other than Wichita. So I've done 3 in 3 different markets. It is intensely stressful. You know what I mean? Just to put on an event that size. So you also have to scale what is scalable, in a sense. You know what I mean? But a lot of these things, like we talked about, there's a test phase, and the test phase sometimes, you know, it is hard to test 6 events at once. You know what I'm saying? Unless you have the team to do that. You know what I mean? Like Golden Voice, they can afford to test 6 new events at once. They do it all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And whichever one works, they keep those and do them again, do it next year. Yeah. But it's just getting to that point to where you have the support financially, obviously, to be able to keep doing events. But also, sometimes that also depends on the economy. Like right now, I think some of the events that are doing the best are like the EDM events. Like the EDM events, like the one in Vegas, they did like 500,000 tickets in like 5 days or something ridiculous. Like the VIPs are like 150 grand. They're like, you know, like a chopper is flying up, picking you up. I mean, it's all kind. It's wild. You know what I mean? But so, like when I'm looking at that, like that is like recession proof. Bro, to sell out 500,000 tickets in a week, that is recession proof. Hip hop shows ain't doing that unless you know what I mean. Unless it's like uh, um like a conceptual thing. You know what I mean? And I think conceptual, which a lot of my ideas are conceptual ideas, and some of them, they don't always work all the time. But for the most part, the reason why they work is because, like we talked about, it's about identifying like-minded people and bringing like-minded people together. With Taco Fest, we could all be, Taco Fest, you're going to have Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, all put their differences aside for 6 hours, come together because of this one food item. You know what I'm saying? No tripping, no stress, nothing of that. We, as humans, on the world that we live in, but we need that. We need that. It's almost a necessity. You know what I mean? But because events it's a luxury, we don't look at it like that.
We need, honestly, bro, the way you broke this thing down, man, we need the taco events. We need where everyone could come together, especially right now where we at in this world, man. Things are really, in my opinion, are really weird. There's a lot of division. There is Democrats versus Republicans. There is Black versus white, things of that sort. So what more are you putting into this world, man? Plug in some of what you got coming up. You know, what are we looking like for the rest of the summer on your calendar, your schedule? You know, let us know, man. Let the audience know. Let the people know.
My stress level has gone down because I've done Taco Fest. So I can sleep now. That's like my biggest, that's my biggest festival. You know what I mean? That's the biggest festival we do. Is thousands of people, and the management, you know, the management team is managing other teams under that, and it's like it's an intention. Actually, I would say this was probably the best year from an efficiency perspective and from a team perspective, because we were able to basically put the festival on at the same place. Can you imagine doing a festival with like 8,000 people and then changing the venue every year? That's where we were before that last year. So the stress level. So basically, we would think about being successful. You know what I'm saying? Or think about, like, you know, being an NBA team, right? You win the championship, and then next year you're playing in another team, another city. The whole team has moved from Vegas to San Diego. You don't have the same fans. You don't know the arena. But the little things that you would do to kind of get you on your game, you can't do them anymore. Now think about it, if you have to do that every year. It's on. So this was our first year of stability, and it showed, because we usually have like 15 meetings. Like literally, we'd have like a meeting a week leading up to the festival. This year we had 3, and we were more successful than anything because our chemistry was on point. We had the experience, and we were not nervous from a location perspective. We had already done it before there. We had been there. We knew what to do. It was that clockwork. And for everybody, from the DJs to the sound guy to, you know what I'm saying? Everybody already knew their role because we were done. So next year is going to be even easier. You know what I mean?
And where is it? Where is this Taco Fest at?
So Taco Fest is located in Andover, Kansas. It was here in Wichita, but then I have to move it because it's just too big to be in Wichita. There's so much space to execute because we have the wrestling, we have the music, we have the food, we have the VIP. I mean, you know, the Tequila Expo. People want me to just like cram everybody into work. Like, and then when I do that, they complain. And then you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, so we feel like we found a home right now with the venue we have, at least for the time being. The city of Andover, they own the venue, and they've pulled out 2 or 3 red carpets for us. That's how amazingly they treated us. I always tell people, like, you know, I've been in this business for over 15 years, and the treatment I'm getting from Andover is like next to none. It doesn't even compare. You know what I mean? Like, these guys have gone above and beyond for us, and they don't have to do that. You know, they don't owe us anything. They don't have to do anything that they've done. But these are people that they see the vision. They're like-minded. They match the vision. They believe in what we're doing, and they want to support it and put their money where their mouth is and back us up. You know what I mean? So nothing but love for the city of Andover. But as far as some other events I got going, this summer we're doing a night. So Shop and Grub is a monthly market that we usually do on a Sundays. So it's basically shopping and food. And I have a DJ. We usually have about like 60 vendors. We're like, like over 1,000 people in attendance, like a 5 hour type thing. So, but last summer was really hot and a lot of vendors were complaining and people were complaining in general. So we listened and I pushed it to the night market for the summer only. So April and then I also moved venues to a bigger space because we need to expand, get more food vendors in, and just make it bigger. And with this year we have a record attendance. We're averaging like 60 plus vendors. You know what I mean? So it's really grown in its third year at this new venue that we're using and it's working out. So now, actually on Friday was the first night market. Crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So the first one was crazy. Next one was in July. After that, the next night market will be in August. And then after that, we'll go back to the third Sunday of every month up until November. And then November will be like a big holiday season, shop and grub type thing. So that's what we do as far as shop and grub. I have a Sneaker Fest coming up September 16th. Actually, no, yeah, I got it. I drop it on here, September 16th. I don't know when this is coming out, but September 16th, you know what I mean? The next sneaker show. The first one we did this, so we changed the name from so originally it was like, it was more of like, like the soul thing. But I think the original name, you know what I mean, like with was cool, but when we changed it to Kansas Sneaker Fest, you know what I mean, it blew it up even more. I've been in Sneaker Shop for 12 years. This year was our biggest attendance ever. Biggest attendance ever in 12 years. Imagine that. Like, you know what I mean? Like we based so I mean, initially it was, you know what I mean, it was more of like the We Got Soul type vibe, you know what I mean? That was like the name, you know. But we changed it from that to Kansas Sneaker Fest, just made it more of like made it more of a Kansas thing as opposed to, you know what I mean, as opposed to just like when you say I got soul, people don't know if you're talking about the soul in your heart or if it's a sneaker, you know what I mean? So people will be like, is it oh, music? You know, people will be like, is it We Got Soul, I Got Soul, You Got Soul? Yeah. But Kansas Sneaker Fest, we changed the name because we wanted something new, something fresh, something, yeah. And then 12 years is like, yeah, exactly. And then even 12 years is like, 12 years is a long time to do anything. So we wanted to, we wanted something new and something, you have to, I believe you have to rebrand yourself every 5 years. Anyway, you have to rebrand yourself, a new idea, you know what I mean? So, and then with certain events, I rebrand, like with Tiger Fest, I rebrand it every year. There's a new look every year. You know what I mean? It just depends on what, what the event needs. And then I have some other events that we're working on.
Where would the listeners be able to find you online, or where would they be able to find all of this information for all these events, man? We want to let them know so they can go out and support.
Festive ICT. So festivict.com or Festive ICT on Instagram or on Facebook. And you see, if you go on our website, Festive ICT, you can see all our events. You can see our event calendar of all the events that we have coming up. Basically you maybe see Bronze Fest, Sneaker Fest, and all that, and you can just click on whichever event you're interested in. I think it'll let you know when the next event coming up. And then,
cool, man. So people go check out Festive ICT on social media, festivict.com, and if you happen to be in Kansas or somewhere, I mean, because obviously it's not a small state, it's a big enough state.
I have a dude.
There you go.
I have a dude. I'm not gonna put him out there. I'm gonna put him out this. I'll tell you about this dude off the air. He is right now. He's one of the top designers in the game, and he's one of the top dudes in the game. And he's up and coming. He used to fly to Wichita for my sneaker shows, and you know what I'm saying. He used to fly to Wichita for my sneaker shows. I met him to somebody else, and we just ended up becoming cool. And now he has some property here. He doesn't live here, but just the cost of living, of how cheap it was, it blew his mind. You know what I mean? So he has he has property here. So the point is that, like, and I want to say that Wichita or Kansas, Wichita specifically, is on the cusp of blowing up. The reason why is because I'm just looking at what's happening, and looking at, like, you know what I mean, just everything that's coming in. Also, when you think about like Denver, for example, right? In my mind, I think we're gonna be like the next. Let me not say the next. We're going to get to a point to where we have some sort of recognition, like a Austin, like a Denver, like a Portland. There was a time when if you guys remember, like, there was a time when you thought about, like, Colorado. Nobody thought about Denver. We thought about Boulder first, or the mountains. No one thought about Denver. Same thing with Austin. There was a time where you only thought about South by Southwest. You didn't even bring up Austin in Texas. You didn't even bring it up. It wasn't even like a city like you compared to, like, you know what I mean? People only went for South by Southwest. There's a lot of cities like that, small cities, I think, that have blown up and now have, they now have a recognition. And I think we're on our way there. In Kansas, well, absolutely. Because there's two things I think that's going to happen. One is once people realize, it's already happening, once they realize the cost of living and the unique food scene that we have a very unique food scene here. You know what I mean? Once they realize those two things, because you need one for the other. So if you move there, you're always going to ask, what am I going to do while I'm there? You know what I mean? We're not a city that has, like, massive events yet. We're getting there, you know what I mean? But we have stuff that I'm doing and stuff that a lot of other people that are ministry advisors are doing as well. But when it comes to food, we can definitely hold our own. And that's actually what we're known for. You know what I mean? But it's just that we haven't done a good job of promoting that to the outside world. By the time we do, I think it's going to be too late, because the outside world is going to come in and basically take advantage of it. You know what I mean? So I think that's about to happen. And by the grace of God, we'll be at the top of the situation when that happens. And you know what I mean? And I'm hoping we'll be able to reap the rewards of all the sacrifices we've made, everything we've made. Because if anybody believes in this place, it's me, and I'm not even from here. You know what I mean? Like, but I believe in this place because I always make this saying, like, you can't build castles in New York, you can't build castles in LA or Chicago or even Atlanta, because there are already castles there. There's no castles in Kansas. You know what I'm saying? So you can actually build castles here. And so that's what I'm trying to.
Cool, man. So, man, hey, you've given us so many great gems, Nnanna. Like, this has been good. Can't wait for people to listen to this. Can't wait for people to learn from this. Really, really appreciate your time. I know I had a bunch of technical difficulties, believe it or not, and I'll say this, the power went out, which is very unusual. That power actually does go out and stuff like that. But thank you very much, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everything that you've given us insight on and all this good stuff, man. So the audience will definitely enjoy this. They'll learn a lot from this. So Ralph and I want to really thank you for coming on and giving us all this information and advice, brother. So, I mean, people know where to find you. People know everything from you. So
I was going to say thank you guys. And we got to do a part 2. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I love talking to you guys. This is an amazing experience. I love what you guys are doing. I think the concept is unique as hell. I love the organization. I love how you guys are on points. You know what I mean? It's a legit, it's a legit situation. And I know, personally, I wouldn't expect anything less from y'all, you know, because I know y'all personally, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that you guys have been able to pull it off. Personally, I think whatever you guys put your minds to, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I mean? It's the sky's the beginning. There's no limit. So, keep it going with the podcast. I think so there are podcasts that are not even necessary. This is a necessary one, which I think you know what I'm saying? Which I think is your advantage from a longevity perspective. Meaning that as long as you just keep on going, you'll always have someone to help. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
What I want to do though is, Nnanna, really just focus in, and this is strictly for the entrepreneurs, not necessarily the family man, not necessarily this and that. I got some solid questions. I know Cecil may ask as well too, but exactly, fire round question, just straight one sentence answer directed at the entrepreneur, young, old, whatever it is. You meet an entrepreneur, what's the first piece of advice that you give them?
Believe in yourself.
What's a digital resource that helps you greatly?
A digital resource. YouTube.
Hey, right. There's no wrong answer.
No, I mean,
hey. Listen. Well, so I read a lot of I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Right now, I'm listening. You want me to give you like a list of books I'm listening to right now? I'll just fire up some books real quick. Just on my Audible. Just a few books that I'm currently listening to right now. So I'm listening to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I'm listening to Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which is more like a negotiation type book. Good to Great by Jim Collins, fantastic book. Built to Last by Jim Collins, another fantastic book. Good Profit by Charles Koch, a good book as well. Believe it or not, I just read the book by 50 Cent, Hustle Harder and Hustle Smarter. I was impressed. It's actually a great book compared to what I thought it was.
That's a good list, man. So
you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just some of the books. I mean, I have a Shoe Dog by Sean Knight.
Yeah, I read that book. So very good book.
I haven't.
Very good book.
Yeah. So the few books, but those are some of the resources that I use.
That's good. That's
like that. I'm trying to read and listen to books all the time, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, people like Jim Rohn. People not for motivation, but for confirmation.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Cool. And last question: what advice would you give to a new father and husband?
Be patient and just know that you're only a man at the end of the day. You're only a man. You're only a man.
Man, that's what's up, man. Thank you very much, Nnanna. Like, you've given us like a good time of gems, man. So we'll take that. Thank you very, very much, man. We appreciate it, and hope you guys out there and the listeners were able to get a lot of gems. So thank you guys for listening to Family Man Building a Band podcast, and we want to thank Nnanna very much for his time, man. Appreciate it.